Hi, it's Rachel with Stirring the Deep. Today I want to dive into the true meaning of the Sabbath rest and how it's related to the establishment of the kingdom of God. And we know that the kingdom of God comes within us, right? Because the territory of the kingdom is our soul. That is what Christ came to claim and to take over and to fill his spirit with, is us. We're the temple, right? So the Sabbath rest is a very important part of coming and being a part of the kingdom of God. And in Matthew, it says, it's Matthew 18:3, and said, this is Jesus said, "Surely I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." And the key attribute of a child is that they dwell in their parents' home, and there is a rest there and there's a trust there. If they're in a good home with loving parents, there is such a security, a safety. There's no worry, there's no stress. And it's interesting, as you grow up to be an adult, it's all the stress, the anxiety, the worry. It's sort of like that's what happens when you grow up. And it does for us in this world until we really start coming to know the true living Father and get to know him as a father. And what happens is you go back to that state of being like a child. You move out of worry and stress and anxiety and fear, because all of those exist when you don't know God and that true Father and his love for you. Because when you know that, those things are moved out of your life. Because where that real love there is there and the trust in that love, you can't have those fears and stresses, anxieties, and trust in the love of a Father who's all powerful and all knowing and is taking care of you. And to getting to know God as a Father is the most amazing experience you can have, because you see it's as if he's just there in your life. You see his protection, literal protection, his provision for you, his counsel and the wisdom that he gives you in your circumstances and how to handle relationships and situations. It's the love that he pours into you that gives you so much value and honor and respect, that now that is something that you can have and own and give. So in order to come into a place like a child where you're really at complete trust and thus in rest, you have to understand the love of the Father for you. And we have to get to know him, and we have to get to know the true Father. There are so many false images around God from all the religions, even in Christianity, and if those are part of your image of God, it actually blocks you from experiencing his love. Because God is real, and it's just like a person. If you have false images of them, it blocks you, it's walls to intimacy. And so God is the same way. And so all of those have to come down, and we have to know him as he is, in spirit, because he's spirit, and in truth. That means no lies, no false images, none of this religion. Okay, so this is very important to becoming a child, thus entering into the kingdom of heaven, is that you have to know God, the true God, to know his love, trust in that love, so that you can be in a complete state of trust, which brings rest. Because if you're trusting, you're not engaging in all those fears and worries and anxieties and stresses. And so you can tell yourself whether you're trusting or not, because if you feel those emotions, then you're not trusting. When you trust, you feel at total peace, know whatever's going on. And when you know God, who is an amazing Father, that's a reality for you, because you see him working in your life, you see that power, you see that care, and it's a very real thing. And another side of this is when you trust God in that way, the true God, that power, his power fills your life, because that honors him and that honors his truth. So when he says walk this way, and you walk in that truth and you abide by what he counsels you in, that honors him. That's that true worship of him, because you're doing what he asked you to do, which brings peace into your life and growth and increased love into your life, because you're experiencing more of who he is in a very real way. And so it's not being double-minded. A lot of times people, they have God over here and they talk about that love and trust in God, but then you look at their life and they're really trusting the wisdom of the world and what other people tell them, even other religious leaders. They're not really trusting God. So you have to be very careful not to be double-minded like that, because all your trust in every area of your life is to be in God, whether your work or your relationships or your health or whatever it is. And if you're trusting in one area but not another, every area is connected and everything affects each other. So you have to learn to trust, thus rest in every area of your life. And if you seek God in this and ask him to teach you in this, he'll show you exactly how to do that, because we all fall out of rest in different areas. So we have to tune into his personal counsel to know, oh, this is what it means to abide in your rest, and I see how I'm going out of it. So it's a very personal internal dialogue that you have with God as he counsels you on how to enter into that rest. Okay, so another thing that's key about this is when Jesus was healing, he often healed on the Sabbath, because the Sabbath was a day that they did what? No work, right? There were so many things they were not supposed to do, and that was symbolic of being in the true rest, which is you're always trusting God to perform all things for you, to work through you, to help you, he's faithful and you can trust him in that. So you're always trusting him in everything that you do, that he is there and he's going before you. And if you're following him, then you can trust that. If you're going your own way, then that's a different story. So as long as you're seeking to know God and to follow the true God, he will go before you and you will see that, and that will also increase your trust. So Jesus was always healing on the Sabbath, because when we are in that state of rest, that brings so much healing into our life. Because we're connecting to his wisdom, which is giving us incredible counsel and how to handle situations and how to work and how to be in our relationships and how to truly love and how to truly honor and value. And when we embody that love with God, we gain all that value and that honor that we can give to other people. He teaches us about kindness and how to walk in that. And so when we do, it just creates more and more rest in our life and more peace. It's very, very powerful, and that brings healing. It brings healing because healing is from inside out. It brings healing to your mind and how you think. And when you remove stress and worry and anxiety, all these things that we know cause so many physical problems in our body, so many illnesses, when you start removing those, you start healing. And he starts giving you wisdom about how to live your life, right? That is good for this vessel that you're in, okay? So you start walking in wisdom and living in wisdom. So this Sabbath is not about just a day. And if that's something that you want to take a day out to where you don't do anything and you spend that time with God, that's probably something that you need, right? If that's your desire. But here's the thing, is what you really want to enter into is becoming like a child always in your life. You want to enter into the true Sabbath rest, which is the substance is Christ. I mean, when you have that spirit and you're moving in that spirit and being unified to that spirit, thus you're flowing into that rest because he's rest. You can't be a part of him and dwell in all these anxieties and fears and worries. That doesn't work because it's contrary to who he is. So as you do that, that's what that real Sabbath rest is. It's a rest in your life always. It's a deep trust. And throughout the Bible, God is trust me, trust me, trust me. And if you do, you infuse incredible power into your life. And again, just step out a little bit in that trust and you will start seeing the fruit of that, and it will just grow in your life. So again, this is very important when you talk about coming into the kingdom of God, because that kingdom of God, your soul is being knit to Christ's. And this is a very important part, an element of that knitting is learning about this rest, what it truly is, and what it really comes from, which is that trust, and that trust in the love of God. Till next time, keep stirring the deep. So one thing that changes everything else.